Hi everyone, my name is Kaylie and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Okay everybody, sorry if I sound like poop. I am kind of sick. I have like a really weak immune system for some reason. What the heck? Okay everyone, so before we get into today's story time, a lot of you guys have been asking me about my beauty routine. So I wanted to throw this little video in here in case some of you were curious about my self-care routine. And I think that it is so important for everyone to have a day where they can just take time to themselves, whether if it's once a week, twice a month, once a month. And I've been taking a self-care day like twice a month. So now I pretty much have a little routine of stuff that I do to make myself feel better mentally and physically. Now, if you guys watched my videos from a few weeks ago, you would have saw that I started my IPL hair removal journey with Kenzie. And for those of you who have no idea what a Kenzie is, it is this little device right here, and it is a handheld IPL, which is intense pulse light. So it's not a laser. This is actually much safer and something that you can use at home. And it comes with different attachments for different uses like hair removal, reducing acne and aging spots, skin rejuvenation. Now I have been using my Kenzie for about 13 or 14 weeks, and I'm literally so happy I decided to try a different method of hair removal because funny enough, waxing used to be a part of my self-care routine. Literally, like I couldn't start the rest of my self-care routine until I got waxed first. And I would literally get everything waxed, which one was extremely painful and two, very expensive. But I would say for the past 3 or 4 months, I've been looking of ways to be more conservative. Like for example, using the Kenzie. This is perfect because it is something that I only have to buy once and then I can keep reusing because all I have to do is plug it in. Not to mention, my Kenzie actually gets rid of my hair instead of waxing where, oh, and let me tell you this, whoever told me that my hair was gonna grow back thinner and slower, they lied. Because I literally did waxing for like months, saw no slowing of the hair growth or anything. I used the Kenzie for like 13 weeks and my hair literally is like non-existent. I have to use this like maybe once every 2 weeks. I literally have not used this thing in 2 weeks. My skin is softer, the hair grows back slower and patchier and thinner, whereas with waxing and shaving, I'm literally always spending money. And I did the math because I'm literally a psycho. For the price of the Kenzie, which will actually get rid of my hair, I can get waxed 4 times. That is embarrassing. That's not the only embarrassing thing though. Another thing that was extremely embarrassing was since I moved down to Florida, I cannot be walking around during the grow out. It just would not work for me. Like I'm wearing shorts 24/7. I cannot have my legs being super hairy, especially not to mention my armpit hairs. Literally, they are so dark. So whenever I would have to do the grow out, I would wear long sleeves or t-shirts. I never wanted to wear tank tops or anything. So the Kenzie is said to give people full results in 12 weeks. Okay, now that I am 13 weeks, I'm going to show you guys a little before and after pics. Okay, so this is before I started. Obviously the hair is there, it is growing in full, thick, and just gross. Okay, and then we fast forward a month, I'm starting to see a little bit of thinning, and then this was almost a month ago. Barely any hair, okay? Like literally like almost zero hair, very patchy. My skin also just like feels like very smooth. And then also, this is a picture I took last night. I have seen the full results, I think. I think I can say that. I may have like a little straggler, but that's also because like some parts are hard for me to put the Kenzie on because you have to lay it flat on your skin, but I'm getting there. But my armpit is pretty much bald now and I'm living for it.
Okay everyone, so it is time for me to use my Kenzie, so I figured I would show you guys how to use it. So the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to plug the device in, and then on the back there is a power button that will be blinking green, and we're just going to hit that once and the device is finally on. So we are going to adjust our heat setting. Now there are 5 heat settings, 1 being the lowest, 5 being the highest obviously, and I personally am going to put mine on 5. This device is also super easy to use. All you do is put the device flat against your skin and then you press the big button on the front. Also, if you guys are planning on using this device, for the first few weeks you have to shave before I know that I was super confused whenever I got this device because I was like, okay, why would I have to shave if I have to use this? The reason why it's called an IPL device is because it shoots light to the hair follicle and pretty much sets it into a reset phase. And the more that you use the IPL device, the weaker the hair follicle gets. So that's why the hair is thinning out and it gets patchier and altogether eventually disappears.
So Kenzie was awesome enough to give me a discount code for you guys to use if you want to check out the Kenzie. And it is Kaylie, and you can use it for 20% off of $249. Now, I know the price seems scary, okay? But you guys heard me whenever I said the cost of this device was comparable to me getting waxed 4 times. And I can use the Kenzie whenever I want, as many times as I want. Not to mention, they also have an afterpay, meaning you do not have to pay all up front, you can pay over time. And I think that those are awesome. I use them probably a little bit too much, but I really think that it's worth it, especially if you're somebody that literally just wants that hair gone. So you guys can either click the link down below in the description and use code Kaylie, or you can go to www.kenzie.com and use code Kaylie there for 20% off.
Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to clean my face with some Garnier micellar water because my skin has been super sensitive lately, most likely from me traveling back and forth between Pittsburgh and Florida, meaning it's dry, cracking, and my nose is peeling really bad. And if you guys are looking for a really good moisturizer this winter, go and get the Vaseline Extremely Dry Skin Rescue. This stuff is literally my holy grail. So as some of you have realized, I did get my lash extensions removed, so I am using the Grande Lash Serum to try and grow my lashes a little bit. Maybe I'll update you guys in like a month doing before and after pics. Also, let me know down below in the comments if you guys would like a more in-depth morning routine or nighttime routine. But without further ado, let's get into today's story time.
I'm going to bring you guys up close. There we go. Okay, so before we get into my quick usual little rundown, I have an announcement. If you guys didn't watch my last video, I came out with my own Snapchat show. And episodes come out every week, and they are story times, and I would love for you guys to go and subscribe. It would literally mean the world to me if you guys would just go and check it out. I will leave the link down below in the description, but yeah, just like feel free to check it out, you know. Okay, so for most of the video, I'll be looking in this direction because my mirror's over here and I would like to see what I'm doing. I do tell these story times in a first person point of view, so if you don't like that, then you can leave, and these story times are sent in by anonymous people. I've been using this lash serum lately, and I think it's working really good because obviously I don't have lash extensions anymore. And I think once I get to like the 3 or 4 month mark, I'm going to make a video about it and show you guys, because pretty girls don't gatekeep, period. Okay, so story time about how I dated my half-brother. Now see, this would be a surprise, but I've actually heard that this is very common. Or maybe not like dating their half sibling. Like obviously I feel like people dating their cousin happens more than this does, but it's really not out of the ordinary for what we've heard throughout the past year or two. Okay, so a little background information. I was 17 and a senior in high school. Now I know from the title of the story I sound crazy, but I swear to God it was not my fault and not intentional. Now this really started my senior year after I had just gotten out of a very long-term relationship. Okay, 2 years, but that was a really long time for me. Now, he used to go to my school, but him and his family ended up moving for his mom's work. And we were both really in love with each other, so we decided to make long distance work. Try to make it work at least. I just spit. Well, you know, it would have worked out. But he didn't know the first thing about loyalty, so of course that shit just went. It honestly didn't even last a month. Yep. He had me posted all over his Instagram, right? And then some girl, like, you know, that he was fucking with on the side, saw that I was his girlfriend, and she went and she was like, she sent the, "Hey girl, I know you don't know me" text. Now listen, there's nothing wrong with the girls who say, "Hey girl, I know you don't know me, but," because I appreciate that, I really did, but at the same time, I didn't want to know. I was so in love with him that I just wanted to keep going on. Like, whatever. Honestly, I think I've been that girl. Like, I have actually never had one girl come to me and tell me, like, if my ex was, you know, like, talking to them. I didn't get no, "Hey girl, I know you don't know me" message. I was always the one who was getting hit on, you know, if, like, somebody's boyfriend hit on me, I immediately would find the Instagram, send it to them, and be like, "Hey sis, I just want to let you know, like, you're too pretty for this, period." Anyways, enough about my life. Let's get back into the story. So like I said, he did not know the first thing about loyalty, so that did not work. And no, this was not the first time that he was not loyal, but that is a story for another day. With that being said, most of my senior year was actually terrible because think about it. You're going into senior year with somebody that you think you're gonna be with for the rest of your life because y'all been together for 2 years, and then all of a sudden, bam, everything ends. And he blocked me after that actually, so I just had no way to contact him. So my best friend Judy decided that I needed to get over this man. Okay, she's like, all right, you need to come get a job with me. And I'm like, all right, whatever, fine. I mean, to be honest, it wasn't the worst because it's not like I was just randomly getting a job. Judy worked there as well, my best friend. So her and I would always hang out after we were done work. Now, Judy did not go to the same school as me. I met her through club soccer whenever I was younger. Funny story, her and I actually hated each other at first. Like, we were always in competition with each other. But eventually, we were forced to always do stuff together because our coach was like trying to teach us that like you don't compete with the people that are on your team. Yeah. So anyways, yeah, we're best friends. And she knew that my love life was not so great at the time, so she was always trying to help me go on dates with guys and everything else. Not that I needed help, she told me I needed a push, okay? Even when I was with my boyfriend, she knew that he was a piece of shit, so she would try to talk me into breaking up with him and going with other guys all the time. Which, sure, it was disrespectful to the relationship, but she knew that he was cheating on me. So it balanced each other out. He was disrespectful, she was disrespectful. But hers was in a way to help me, not tear my heart into pieces and stomp on it. Most of the time when she would try to get me to go on these dates though, I was never interested, you know, I was still grieving the loss of a relationship, or I would pretend to be interested just to make her happy, and then I would ghost them after I left her house actually, because she would be like, no, you need to text them right now while you're here. You better text them whenever you go home. And I'd be like, yeah, sure, whatever, you know, texting them while I'm at her house. I leave, and then I'm like, well, now that I'm not forced to do this anymore, block, unadd, turn notifications off, anything. I mean, at some point I really questioned if I was really trying to get over my ex, or at this point I just really didn't care for that male validation / attention. It even got to a point where she was questioning if I even liked guys anymore. She was like, listen, she was like, I'm not gonna lie, it's been a few months and like it's weird that, you know, you haven't branched out yet. Like, are you into girls? No, I'm not, but throughout this, I was kind of having fun getting to know myself again as an individual. Because I'm actually not gonna lie, I really lost who I was in that relationship because like I morphed into a mini him. I lost my personality, I lost my sense of humor, I lost who I was as a person. Like when we broke up, I had no idea who I was, which was so frustrating. But it's good that I had Judy, to be honest, because I feel like whenever you lose yourself like that, having people that knew you when you were the person that you were before, they can help bring that person out of you again. Now, fast forward to the summertime. Most of my summer was spent with Judy. Her and I were both on the same work schedule because she was my ride to and from work. So every night after work, I would just go to her house and sleep over there. And we worked like 4 or 5 days a week. So pretty much the whole week I was at Judy's. And to be honest, I never liked being home anyways because my family was super dysfunctional, okay? My dad was a drunk. He owned a dive bar, and pretty much it was him leaving during the day at 1 p.m. saying that he has to go and make sure everything's running smoothly, when really he would be there till 2 in the morning because he would drink all throughout the day. Well, my dad actually owned 2 dive bars, so that was like twice the excuse for him to get out of the house. He's like, oh, the one isn't doing that well, so I have to go over there. Oh, there's new people that I need to train over here, blah, 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 blah. So that's led to, actually my dad owned 2 dive bars, which was even worse because that gave him twice the excuse to go and drink, which caused even more fighting in my home. It was kind of nice though that my mom had her own business. She was a stay-at-home mom, but she was into making custom cookies. She had her own website, and she would have these little parties where, you know, people from around the neighborhood and stuff like that would come to our house. They would try our cookies and stuff like that. It was really cute. So yeah, don't get me wrong, I love my parents, but I definitely did not want to be around them whenever they were having one of their episodes, which was literally every single day. I think the worst part was the fact that I had a little brother. His name was Trey, and he was only 12 years old, so there was no way of him really escaping that house, which is always terrible. I always feel bad whenever like there's a younger child in a situation and like all the siblings can leave, but that younger child is still stuck there. But at the same time, like the older sibling can only do so much, you know? They have to save themselves before they can save anybody else. But yeah, he would pretty much have to listen to them fighting every single day. And the only time that he did get a break was whenever my mom's mom, my grandma, would come and take him for the weekend. So yeah, that's pretty much why I go to Judy's all the time. I feel so bad for any kids that are in those situations. Like, not having a good home life is the worst when you're that young. Also, Judy's family would literally let us do whatever the hell we wanted. Her dad was super cool. He would drive us wherever we wanted. Her mom was even better though, because listen, she was a chef at this one restaurant and we would go there at any time. Literally, we could walk in there at like 3 in the morning because it was one of those like 24-hour diners. She would make us breakfast or just really good meals, or we could just like talk about our boy problems with her. She was literally like my second mom. Which I could have had this relationship with my mom if I was home, but my dad was the reason why I was never home. But it was kind of funny because Judy's mom would actually try to set me up with some of the guys at her work, like some of the cooks and stuff like that. She'd be like, oh my god, there's a super cute boy who just started here. Do you want his number? He thinks you're super cute. Like, okay, Judy's mom. Her. I would never say yes, but I just thought that it was funny, and I always told Judy that I wish my parents could be like hers, because like her family was literally, you know those families that you see that you're jealous of because it seems like they have everything right, you know, the parents are nurturing, caring, do whatever to help their kids. Yeah, that was her family. Now, Judy always had a bunch of guys hitting on her 24/7. Like, she was one of the prettiest girls that I had ever seen. I'm not even lying. Like, she definitely could have been a model. And at her school, she was like a queen bee, you know, super popular. Which I think is funny because at my school, I was completely invisible. So I don't know why the heck she liked hanging out with me. But yeah, people wanted to either be with her or be just like her. And the one day we are at work and this guy that she goes to school with comes in. And this guy had apparently liked her for a very long time. So he was begging her to let him take her on a date. He was like, please, I've liked you for so long, like, you know, just give it a shot. And she really did not want to go. Like, I'm not gonna lie, he wasn't the best looking and he just wasn't her type, period. So then she looks at me while I'm like wrapping up sandwiches and she's like, well, if you can find a date for my friend, then I'll think about it. So he's like, done. And then he goes, hey ma, what's your type? And then he comes over to me and literally starts showing me pictures of his friends. I literally felt like it was Tinder. Like, I'm swiping on his phone going through his friends. And I was like, none of your friends look like my type, to be honest. Even though that wasn't true. I know that Judy didn't want to go on this date, so I was like playing hard to get, kind of, with his friends that weren't even there. And he was like, all right, what's your type? And I was like, okay, he at least has to be 6 foot, light skin, he can't be too skinny, and he has to have long hair, long dreaded hair. So then he's like, oh my god, I got the perfect guy for you. And I'm like, what? How? No. I swear to god, this guy had like a roster of like 50 of his friends that he was pimping out to girls. Like, what the heck? So then I look at Judy and she's like, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I tried. So then he texts Judy right after he leaves and he's like, hey, I got somebody for your girl. You just gotta give me a few days because he's out of town right now. And at this point, her and I both think he's bluffing, so we're like, haha, he's never gonna find this person, goodbye. Well, fast forward a couple days, Judy and I are at work and he walks in with a 6'2" mixed guy who's bigger, like muscular, and who got dreads. And Judy and I just both look at each other like, so he's like, all right, like whenever y'all get off, we're gonna be sitting at the food court, so just come over. And Judy's like, why would you think I'm going out like this? And he's like, it's okay, like we can take y'all to your houses, you know, get y'all ready, blah, blah, blah. And Judy and I were just still shook that he even found somebody that was my type. Like, honestly, like, that wasn't really my type. Like, I just really made something up on the spot. I mean, a man's gotta do what a man's gotta do, but what the fuck? So, you know, we get off work, we go out there, and they're figuring out what we should do tonight. And I'm like, hey, like, we can go to one of my dad's dive bars because he's not gonna be at this one tonight, so we can probably end up getting drinks. So, of course, everybody's like, yeah, let's do that, blah, blah, blah. So, you know, of course, it's me sitting in the back with this guy, and Judy's up front with her man. And then we get to Judy's house, and Judy was like, hey, it's gonna take us like an hour and a half to get ready, so why don't you guys go do something while we get ready? And by the way, the whole car ride to Judy's house was literally awkward AF. Like, I'm just sitting there like this against the window, just like looking at him, looking outside the window. I was not feeling it. So, you know, Judy and I are getting ready, and it didn't take me that long to get ready. So while Judy's doing her hair, I am stalking this man on Instagram to see what I can find out about him. And of course, he's one of those guys that literally only posts every like freaking 5 years. So I couldn't find nothing, zilch, zero. But I'm not gonna lie, he low-key seemed like a good guy because when I went on his Instagram, he had a picture with him and his 2 siblings, and then he also had a picture with him and his mom, and then him and his grandma. Which I low-key thought was weird because it's like, yeah, it's your family, but like, what else do you do? So anyways, after that, Judy and I were ready. They come pick us up. We go to one of my dad's dive bars, and we get a table outside, and we're all having a really good time. The conversation between, we're gonna call him James and I was super good. And I couldn't tell if he was just trying to get in my pants or if he actually meant it, but he kept giving me compliments about how beautiful I looked. Like, I was low-key weirded out because not even my ex-boyfriend said that type of shit to me. And obviously, since we're at my dad's restaurant, nobody had to pay for their stuff. And he took out his wallet to pay anyways, and I was like, no, you don't have to do that. And he was like, nah, he was like, I'm not gonna take money from your family. And he still paid for his and my food, which was really sweet because he really didn't have to do it. Like, the fact that he didn't have to do it and he did, chef's kiss. I could tell that he was like low-key a little bit shy though, because whenever Judy and her date walked away to go and play like one of the arcade machines that they had there, he like finally started talking and opening up. And by the way, Judy was having a great time with her date because she downed 3 margaritas, which I didn't even know we had that at my dad's dive bar because literally everything was just fucking beer. Anyways, while they're away, him and I are talking, and like I said, he really opens up to me. And we just start talking about our families and stuff like that, you know. Just like small talk things that you would talk about on your first date with someone. You know, like I told him about how my parents do not get along the best and how they argue 24/7 and how it's super draining for my little brother and I, and how most of the time I try not to be home. And he was like, yeah, I feel that. My mom was with this guy the one time and he was a real douchebag, like would always treat my mom like shit until the one day my brother and I had enough of it and we finally beat the shit out of this guy. Like, okay, he respects his mother. He's just like ticking every box, like check, 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 check. I've been watching Love Island UK and it's like, the one girl was like, he checks all my boxes, check, check, check. But seriously, he literally was checking all the boxes. He was like the perfect guy. But yeah, he told me that he had brothers and all of him and his siblings were from different dads. And his mom is extremely hardworking. She's never needed a man in her life. The only reason why she's had men in her life is because she wanted her kids to have a father figure to look up to, you know? Which I feel like, to be honest, after a parent like breaks up with someone or something, you know, I feel like the rush to get into a relationship isn't just because they want to be in a relationship. I feel like it's also like if they have kids, they want them to be able to have that father figure or that, you know, mother figure in their life, you know. And he told me how, you know, like things would go great with these guys, and they would end up leaving her because she would do what they needed her to do, like, you know, pay for something for them, you know, or they needed a place to stay. They would pretend to want to be in a relationship with her, and then they would leave, which is absolutely messed up. Like, we talk about girls being gold diggers. Like, what about the guys who literally live off of women? Like, let's not just pretend it's the girls here. Like, it is definitely, guys can be gold diggers too. Like, I've seen it. Like, there are literally some guys that sit at home and play video games all day. Well, their girl works and, you know, pays for everything. And their excuse is, well, I could be out cheating on you, but I'm in the house playing the game. Like, do you want a cookie? Do you want an award? Get up off your ass and go get a fucking job. But yeah, that's the tea on his mom. And then he told me that his grandma lived right down the street, but she was getting too old to, like, do her yard work. So they would go over there and do that for her. And then also, she really liked flowers and she couldn't go outside and plant her flowers anymore. So there would literally be days where they would go and they would put a chair outside for their grandma and they would plant her flowers. So freaking cute. At this point in my head, I have my wedding planned out with him, the wedding dress, the venue, everything. And then, fun fact, actually, his mom worked at the same diner that Judy's mom's worked at. And he also worked with Judy's mom and his mom at this diner. Now I'm questioning it though. Was he one of the guys that Judy's mom was trying to set me up with? Because obviously I would never see these guys because they're in the back. You know, she would just tell me, oh my god, there's a super cute guy. And I would always take it as a joke, but like, fuck. I could have met him sooner. But that was another thing that we bonded over because my dad also wanted me to work at one of these dive bars, but I just could not bear to watch him get drunk all day and flirt with a bunch of the waiters and bartenders. So yeah. But as you guys could probably tell, him and I really hit it off, you know? Like, after talking to him for a little bit, I felt like I've known him forever. And we got to the dive bar at around like 7:30. And when I looked at the clock, it was literally 1 in the morning. That is longer. We had a longer conversation than my boyfriend and I had ever had. Like, I'm pretty sure that I had arguments with my ex-boyfriend that were that long, but him and I couldn't hold a conversation for that long. But yeah, he told me that he was really into cars, and we talked about our relationships, you know. I told him about how I got cheated on multiple times. He told me that he's been cheated on before too, which I didn't know whether to believe him or not because, to be honest, he was one of those really good looking guys that just looked like he was the cheater. Like, it just didn't seem natural for a girl to cheat on him. He looked like a fuckboy. Fuckboy, fuckboy. I definitely forget how that song goes. I think the other part is, should've let your best friend get it. I don't know. So, you know, then we're bonding over the hatred that we have for our exes and about how our trust issues are literally terrible. So after that, we all go to the diner that Judy's mom and his mom worked at. We got some food, and then he offered to take Judy and I back to the house, back to her house. So fast forward, we get to Judy's house, and before I get out of the car, we exchange Instagrams, even though I already knew his. And we also exchanged Snapchats and phone numbers. It was literally hilarious. I'm like, okay, what's your Snapchat? He gave it to me. He's like, what's your phone number? And I'm like, okay, here you go. And then he's like, wait, Instagram? And I'm like, oh, here you go. Literally the whole entire night, him and I are snapping each other, and we have a conversation going on text, Instagram, Snapchat, all at the same time. Instagram, we were sending each other funny memes. Text, we were fighting over who won in iMessage games. And Snapchat, we were sending Snapchat videos of us talking to each other over Snapchat. So after a week of us texting and talking, I'm literally shook that I did not ghost him. Shocked. We finally went on a date by ourselves this time. We went to this hibachi place. They put us in a booth with the light really dim, you know. It was just very romantic. So then we decided, you know, the night is still young. We should go do something else. So, you know, we snuck into his mom's house. We grabbed a couple of beers, and one of his friends was the security guard at this one venue, so he was able to get us into a concert that was going on. Nothing big, you know, just like a small little concert. It was honestly perfect, and I thought it couldn't get any better. But he looks at me and he's like, listen, like, I know that we have literally only known each other for like a week. But I've been in 2 past relationships and I've never felt like this with any of those girls. You're genuine, you're smart, you're pretty. Family seems just as important to you as it does to me. Will you be my girlfriend? Period. And me deciding not to be a dumb bitch, I say yes. By the way, I absolutely love that he was like 6'2", because I was low-key tall for a girl, but I still had to stand up on my tippy toes to kiss him. It was so cute. So, you know, I give him a kiss and I'm like, to be honest, I wanted you to ask because I've been thinking the same thing. And yeah, after that, him and I, we were both smiling. Like, you can see the smile on both of our faces. Like, it looked like we just won the lottery. So after that, I immediately call Judy and I tell her the details, and she is freaking out. She's literally like screaming over the phone. She's like, Mom, guess what? She got a boyfriend. And she was like, oh my God, really? Who? And she was like, Mom, it's literally the one guy who works at your diner. And she was like, oh my God, James? She's like, honey, I've been trying to hook you up with him for months now. So, you know, after the concert, him and I, of course, make out in his car for a little bit, you know. And then he drops me off at home. I literally couldn't even sleep that night. Like, I was so happy, you know, because, like, him and I were FaceTiming and just getting way closer than I ever thought I would be with somebody after my ex-boyfriend. Like, I was head over heels for this guy. So, you know, fast forward, we're spending a lot of time together. I even told my parents about him. I showed them a picture of him and I was like, yeah, he's a gentleman. He treats me very well. And my mom's like, kind of looks like your dad. And I'm like, oh, Mom, don't fucking say that. Like, that's gross. And she was like, I just think it's the nose and the eyes. Anyway, so they wanted me to invite him over for dinner. But I'm not gonna lie, I was not ready for that. Like, I really wasn't. Like, my parents were really pushing their luck. Like, they're lucky that I even told them about him. Because I wasn't going to. The only reason why I did was because if James ever met them and they didn't know about him, he would be like, why the hell haven't you told your parents about us? And to be honest, I would be offended if he didn't tell his mom about us. To be honest, it's just the fact that my parents are literally psychos and, like, they're not, overprotective of me, like, you know, dating. It's just the fact that they can't hold it together for literally more than 10 minutes. But him and I did go and eat dinner with his mom the one night at the diner that they worked at. It was super nice. She was really kind and sweet. Definitely the opposite of my parents in a good way. But now I can see why he looks up to his mom so much, because, like, you can just tell that she's a really hardworking woman and she tries to do the most for her kids. Well, you know how I told you that, you know, he was like really good with cars? Well, my dad gave me this really shitty car, and no, I'm not being ungrateful, but for the amount of money that he makes and we have, he definitely could have got me something better than what I got. My car literally stalls going up a hill and I have to put it in neutral to get back down the hill. So yeah. But I took my car to him to go and get an oil change and get some new tires, which my dad said that he would do, but my dad's always drunk, so I doubt he even remembered that he said he would do that, because after that he never asked me about my car. But yeah, you know, he changed my oil and he put my new tires on for me. And listen, I don't know if I'm a weirdo for liking this, okay, but he looked really sexy while he was doing it. And I went over to him after he was done and I was like, do you want to go to your car? Because he had like all tinted blackout windows. And I was like, because we could do something real quick. And then he looks at me and he's like, I literally have stuff all over me. And I'm like, yeah, that's the point. You look hot right now. So, yeah, we end up going to his car, doing the nasty. Well then, while we were doing it, I let I love you slip out. Yep. I let it slip out. I sat there and I was like, oh shit. He said it back, of course, but then, you know, after when we're putting our clothes back on, I was like, you know, you really did not have to say that back to me. And he was like, say what back? And I was like, you know, when I said I love you. And he was like, well, did you mean it? And I was like, well, yeah. And he was like, well, so did I. So I was like, okay, period, per. Because, you know, like, if you don't know, okay, doing the nasty, I love you slips out. okay? Not often, but sometimes it does. And it could be either party, girl or guy or vice, whatever, you know, your preference is. And then it gets really awkward after. And most of the time, when it's somebody that you had just started dating, or, you know, like you friends with benefits, something, usually you don't mean it, or they don't mean it. And then it's like low-key a little bit hard to come back from that. So yeah, let's just say that I was very happy that he said it back. So after we had connected physically, we were inseparable after that. We were hanging out together every day. Judy was literally getting pissed off at me because of how much him and I were hanging out. Like, it was kind of bad. And at this point, my parents caught on to the fact that I was not hanging out with Judy every day, so they really wanted to meet him. It was getting to the point where they were starting to hint at I wouldn't be able to hang out with him again until they met him. But good luck with that. Not gonna tell me whether or not I can see my boyfriend. I'm 17 years old. Goodbye. But at this point, James, who's now my boyfriend was getting super annoyed with the fact that, you know, I kept like putting off him meeting my parents. He thought that it was super sketchy, obviously because he's been hurt before, and I completely get it, you know. Like I said earlier, if he wouldn't have told his mom about me, I would have been super upset. And he was so sweet about it, to be honest. I mean, like, he was getting annoyed, but he was super sweet. He was like, listen, like, I would never judge you based on who your parents are or how they act, which I thought was really sweet, because it is. So I told him that if he really wanted to meet my parents, we had to do it in a public setting and not at my dad's dive bar, because he did not give a fuck about making a scene there. But anywhere else, my parents would put on a front because my mom, you know, she's supposed to be a sweet lady who owns, you know, a little cookie business. And then him, you know, he's supposed to be professional about his dive bar and stuff like that. So yeah. So, you know, he was like, okay, fine, that sounds good to me. We can do it at where my mom works. So that way, you know, they can also meet his mom. Hopefully his mom will rub off on my parents a little bit, you know? I think that's already happened, but not in the way you think. So, you know, my parents agreed to go there, and they also said that they were gonna behave, and I told them they needed to behave. So they were like, don't worry, we're just super happy to meet, you know, the guy that's making our daughter super happy. So we planned for Wednesday that night, okay? And it is currently Sunday. The whole time leading up to dinner, I was extremely nervous, like having anxiety attacks, nightmares, everything. Because my thing is sure, like, my parents like fought with each other, but it could also be like my parents not holding their tongue with him or his mom. And his mom really liked me, so I didn't want her to get the wrong impression of me because of my family also, you know? Even though she didn't seem like the type to judge, it was scary. So fast forward to Wednesday, I get ready, you know, put on a cute outfit, do my hair, do my makeup. So when we pulled up to the restaurant, my boyfriend was waiting outside, and he came over to the car, opened my mom's door, and then opened mine. Such a gentleman. When we got out of the car, he kissed me on the cheek. He introduced himself to my mom and my dad. And the first time that my ex-boyfriend met my dad, he literally dabbed him up and he said, "What's good, homie?" But James went, and, you know, he was like, "Hi, how are you, Mr. blah, blah, blah." Shakes his hand, you know. So this was off to a great start. And while we were walking in, my dad kind of gave me a look of approval. He was like, so we go into the restaurant. It's super busy, way busier than I was expecting it to be. But, you know, he made sure that we were seated immediately, that, you know, we got our drinks within like the first 5 minutes. My parents start talking to him, you know, they're hitting it off really well. My dad was talking about the 2 dive bars that he owned and how he used to be really into cars, but he can't work on them anymore because of his back issues. Which I never knew that my dad was like into cars like that back in the day, so it was pretty cool, you know? Turns out they were both huge fans of the Yankees. It was just going like 10 out of 10 better than I imagined it could go. They brought us out an appetizer before we even ordered anything, you know, from his mom. So, you know, we place our order, conversation's going good. Well, this time his mom brought the food out. Grab your popcorn, folks, because this is about to get disgusting and crazy. But while she's walking over to the table, you know, James gets up and he's like, oh, you know, this is my mom. And my dad looks up from his plate and he literally chokes on his food. Like, he like choking on the appetizer. Spit it out on the table. It was disgusting, actually. And his mom dropped one of the 4 plates that she was carrying. and they both just looked like they had seen a ghost. So yeah. And then his mom is the one to say something first after like an awkward minute of silence. Like literally the whole restaurant was just like dead silent. And she goes, wow, never thought I would see you again. Leaving everybody at the table very confused, especially me and my boyfriend. My mom was kind of confused too. And then my dad, like, he's like trying to get words out, but the words are not coming out the way that he wants them to. He's like, but his mom like abruptly put the food down. She was like, I'll have somebody bring out whatever dropped on the floor. And then she walked away. We all thought that it was rude and confusing. My mom was like, what is that all about? Like, is your mom okay, James? And obviously my mom didn't want to say what she was really thinking in front of James. So James was like, hey, like, I'm gonna go to the bathroom, I'll be right back. Like, of course, another thing that my dad probably ruined for me. So when my boyfriend walks away, my dad's like, get your shit, we're leaving. Right now. Right now. And I was like, no, we just got here and they just made all of our food. That is so rude for us to just walk out, not even pay for any of this. And he was like, fine, you can stay here, but your mother and I are leaving. And then he throws a $100 bill on the table and he walks out. So, you know, I'm sitting at the table all awkward and, you know, I'm texting Judy and I'm like, dude, you'll never guess what happened. Like, shit is so awkward right now. Like, you know, of course, my dad probably ruined something great for me again. And she's like, dude, you're fine. She was like, it's probably just some old beef that really has nothing to do with you or your boyfriend. So I wouldn't worry about it. Little did she know. So when my boyfriend did come back to the table, he looked visibly disgusted and uncomfortable. He was like, hey, so I'm not gonna lie, like, I think you should go home. And I was like, why, what's wrong? And he was like, nothing, like, I'll tell you later, like, I'm just not feeling good right now. So I was super confused and I was like, well, can you at least give me a ride home, please? And I spent the whole car ride asking him why he was acting so weird. And he was literally just like ignoring me and he was like, I don't know. As we pull up to my house, he's like, listen, I'm not gonna lie, I don't think we should see each other anymore. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, we get along so well, we've been dating, like, there was nothing wrong at the restaurant. You literally said you would not judge me for how my parents acted. And I was like, and I trusted you to meet them, and now look at this, like, I look stupid for actually believing you when you said that you weren't going to judge me. You and your mom both weren't going to judge me off of how my family was. And he goes, listen, it's not about how your family acted, it's about who your family is. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? And then he looked at me and he was like, listen, your dad had an affair with my mom when they were younger and she worked with him. And then I'm like, okay. And then like the look that he gives me, I'm like, fuck. He goes, yeah, she got pregnant with me and he told her that he wanted nothing to do with me and that my mother and I ruined his life. And now at this point I was pissed, I felt sick and disgusted, but at the same time heartbroken. But I completely understood why he didn't want to be with me anymore. And to be honest, after that, I don't know if we could have been together after that. I know you all are thinking like you shouldn't be together after that, like that should definitely like cut that off like right then and there. But at the same time, you guys have to remember, I'm 17 years old. This is a guy that I've fallen in love with, you know? So of course I'm disgusted, but I'm also like, this is the first person who's actually treated me right and has just been like a complete perfect man. So, you know, I'm like, yeah, I agree. And then I get out of the car, slam the car door, walk into my house. And while I'm walking away, I'm literally like sobbing, like trying to think of ways that this could work, but it can't. Like that's like, it's not gonna happen. So as soon as I walk in the door, I see my dad and mom sitting at the kitchen table and I immediately explode. I was like, how could you be such a fucking disgusting human being? I absolutely hate you, go to fucking hell. And at this point, my mom's like, hey, don't you dare speak to your father like that. And I was like, oh, my father? Talk to my father like that. I was like, Dad, do you want to tell her or should I? And she was like, first of all, I do know what happened. That woman stole thousands of dollars from your father and then tried to sue him for sexual harassment. And I look at him like wide-eyed, and I'm like laughing. I'm laughing because it is hysterical how far this man will lie instead of just telling the truth. So then I'm like, Mom, he didn't fire this girl. She never sued him. She never stole money from him. And then my dad was like, that's enough. Shut your mouth and go up to your room. And I was like, why? Do you not want Mom to know that you cheated on her with my boyfriend's mom and then got his mom pregnant, resulting in my now ex-boyfriend being my half-brother? And my mom's face just completely shifted. She was like it was one of those moments where you're like, what the did she just say? Yeah, it was one of those. And then I told her, I was like, and you definitely didn't tell her about the part where you paid his mom $50,000 to move away and get an abortion. And at that point, my mom's like, obviously she doesn't want to believe it. She turns to my dad and she's like, is this true? And he's like, no, I don't know what she's talking about. She's just making shit up because she wants to be able to be with her boyfriend. And my mom looked at me and I was like, you can believe whatever you want, but I know I'm not lying. And I know how many times that man has lied to you, so believe who you want. So then she's like, all right, well, I'm just gonna call her for myself and see what's going on. Immediately, he decided to come clean. He was like, I was stupid, young, dumb. He was like, honestly, I never wanted to be with her. I thought that she was gonna get rid of the kid and hopefully start a new life. And yes, I paid her $50,000 because you and I were really good on money at the time, and I thought that it was the best way to get rid of her. So at that point, my mom she threw the phone at him. She starts throwing other shit at him. She told him, leave the house. Don't come back here because tomorrow morning, I'm filing for divorce and I'm taking half of everything. So here come the waterworks, the crocodile tears, everything. But my mom, as the boss ass bitch that she is, went in his closet. She gave me a trash bag and she was like, pack all your father's shit. She was like, I'll start in the closet, you go to the dresser. She was about to ruin his baseball card collection that was worth about $60,000. And I was like, Mom, these are worth a lot of money. You can get half of these in the divorce, okay? So she was like, oh my God, you're right. Let's take any valuables. And I'm like, oh my God, my mom's she's a savage. So yeah, she legit started throwing his bags of his clothes out the window onto the front lawn where he was standing, just looking up. She ended up filing for divorce the next day though. She kept to her word. And she ended up getting one of the dive bars, but she soon found out from one of the guys that worked there, one of the chefs who had a big crush on my mom. He pretty much told her that my dad has slept with every single waitress / bartender there, even the underage ones. As for me, I was absolutely devastated, heartbroken, everything under the sun. I never talked to my ex-boyfriend / half-brother ever again, whatever the fuck you would call him at this point. And I blame my dad for all of this. And, you know, I told Judy about everything, and surprisingly, you know, I love Judy, but, like, she loves to gossip. So I definitely thought that this shit was gonna get around, but I had to tell somebody, I had to vent, you know. And surprisingly, nobody knew about it. Nobody still knows to this day, 4 years later. Nobody fucking knows.